Hey, hello everyone. We are live for part two of the Feminine Redemption. I don't know, should we call it a series? I don't think it's a series. It's just two two calls, but we needed a second call because there was so much left unopened last time. Oh, okay, I'm gonna unmute you. Yes, thank you. Um,
Yeah.
there you go. Okay. Yeah. So we're finally here and we also had like we rescheduled this a few times. I think the first time we scheduled this, I don't know where my brain was, but it was like a few days after my sister's wedding, and I don't know why I thought I could do it then. Then I was like, let me be kind to myself, and we rescheduled. And it ended up being a snow day that day, so we probably would have had to cancel anyway. But I really believe that timing is everything, and whenever this is meant to happen, here we are. There must be something special happening today. This conversation has to be happening today, whatever the constellations and astrology are saying. I don't know. I'm not into those things so much, but it must be something. There is obviously the idea that we're at between Purim and Pesach, which is the ultimate redemption season, which is why we're having this conversation now, which is why we're also having Redemptorist starting next week. And I'm going to tell you more about it in this call as well, because I know a lot of you had questions. Oops, what is with the muting? Is it
Hi.
working now?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're here, and we'll introduce ourselves again. Even though if you didn't watch part one, you should totally go back to watching part one. I'm gonna link the replay for that under this recording, so you can all go back and watch it if you didn't yet. But my name is Pessy Schwartz. We're gonna say the titles, even though it's not really the titles that are really the point here, but you'll see at the end how it all comes together. So I'm a fertility awareness educator, a college teacher, a few other things that I'm not going to list everything. It's more like everything, all the trainings I took or everything I studied was really with a goal of I want to bring this to women in a wholesome way, in a way that really covers all the angles of what our cycles are about, what our womanhood is about. And then through this work, it just became so obvious that Reclaim Womanhood is really about redemption because when we become more of who we are, when we come back to the truth, to the essence of who we are as women, especially, and we connect to our cyclical rhythm, which we'll talk more about today, we we become redeemed. There's really no other way to describe it. It's not so much like healing or I mean, even though it's all part of it, but like the focus on, let's say, emotional healing or um um I don't even know how else to describe it. It's like such a wind out there. And it's more about like either getting out of pain or fixing ourselves. And that's not really what redemption is about because we're always whole. We were always whole. And we're really revealing the truth of who we are. So I'm going to stop talking now because we're going to have a whole hour to discuss all this. So I'm going to let Sora Miriam introduce herself now because there's a reason we're having this conversation together. And she also has a lot to say on this topic. So go for it.
Hi, everyone. Okay, whoever, I guess you're saying that with the titles because whoever saw my WhatsApp status, like I was getting a lot of questions about some of the titles under my name. So I just want to say, like, it's very hard for me to come up with these titles. Also, especially, Pessy, I feel like a lot of yours, like, you trained in them. So they're things you do. I mean, I trained as a college teacher. I'm still taking trainings, but like right now, hopefully will change in the future. It's not my main thing. So I'm always like, I don't know, like what do I do in this area, you know? But just in general, I love speaking and teaching. I used to talk a lot about Geula before I got into all the woman stuff actually. So for me, it was like a funny, and then I got into all these things. I teach Taras and Shbach, I teach intimacy, like hopefully totally reframing the way we think about these things. And then all of a sudden, the two things started connecting, which I did not ever think they were connected. And now here we are in this place where it's like, wait a second, this way that we are made as women is like, it's so intrinsically connected to Geula. The whole goal of it is bringing redemption in many different levels that, like, when I don't know if you saw Pessy's email when Pessy put out Redemptress last year, I like signed up right away. I was like, this is just I need to know this information. It's like it was like I felt like it was the next step on my path. Like Hashem said, okay, this is for you the next thing you're gonna learn. And so that just started, this whole year working on the putting these few things together. So yeah, it's just an interest, a passion. I love teaching to other people, not an expert at all, but we're here to just discuss, I guess, again, our thoughts on these things, hopefully bringing it a little more concrete this time.
Yeah, and I think really what we're trying to do is when we take a topic like redemption, it feels very fluffy, very out there, very like and we said this last time, so we're not going to go so much into it, but like, oh, Mashiach will come one day, or yeah, we're waiting for that day, and we are, and it's true. And also, what we're doing here is we're really bringing it into everyday life because where this started and why this happened, why I offer redemptions before Pesach is the women in Mitzrayim didn't just believe in redemption out of nowhere. I think that the idea that, oh, they had so much emunah and they were able to hold that faith, it's missing so much, right? Because where is it coming from? Because when I started tuning into my cycle more, I became more embodied in my faith, but in a way that was so real, in a way that um, when you say like, oh, this too shall pass, it was real. It was, and my body actually lives it. My body actually experiences it. It was not just that fluffy out there mindset, like mindset work, right? Like mindset is a very big thing also, but where does mindset come from? Where does faith and belief come from? All these things come from our actual lived experience. Um, Nobody's asking you to believe something without evidence. That's not what faith is. There's so much evidence in the world that, you know, there's one creator and Mashiach will come and there's like this path of redemption. There's so much if you're looking for it, right? And the evidence that we have in our bodies, in our cycles, like it's there, but if we're not tapped into it, if we're not tuned into it, then we're just like our eyes are closed to it. Not only our eyes, but like our experience, right? So we're hoping in this call, like last time we opened a lot of ideas, right? We opened so much of what is this even about? Like what are we even talking about when we say redemption and we say the feminine redemption? And in this call, we're hoping to bring it more into your actual body experience, into your lived experience, into your everyday life, like making this very practical because for us it's an actual lived thing. Like we're again, we're cycling through exile and redemption all the time, but we're experiencing a level of redemption, an idea, and so many people across the world are able to experience. And look what's happening in the world right now, right? You can always tap into different things that are happening, whether it's in current events or world events in your life. Like it's really there's so much available to us if we're open our eyes to it and if we can see it. But it's yeah, that's what we want to like bring that to you. Like it's available inside of you. We want you to be able to access that.
Right. Like I think it seems very fluffy and it is to some extent, but what we want to try to open up for everyone is like it's actually it's the most concrete thing. Your body lives this every single month. So sometimes we shut it off. We talked about that last time too. That's fine. But we live it in our body. So it's not something you have to create. It's something you have to like rediscover and tap into because it's there and
Right.
we're it's just essential to who we are, it's so clear that that's there. It's just that, I mean, it's clear to us, but like that it has to be revealed. I think we talked about last time how and I actually talked about this with Purim. I was saying how like there always has to be this balance, right? It can't be so obvious because then there's no bechira. And I think that it seems to me like there is something here in the fact that we're so disconnected from this, and I think we're starting to come back to it. But it's like we have to make that choice ourselves to discover it and to bring it in ourselves for it to be even more real than ever. Like to
You
make that actual
basically can't
choice.
experience redemption unless you choose it. Like you're
Right.
opening, like saying that you want to learn this, saying that you like we want to have more awareness because we have been cut off from it. That itself is an act of redemption. Like choosing the
Right.
possibility of it, choosing the awareness, the learning about it, that itself is making it possible to come into your life.
Right. And I can't just. I mean, it's not gonna. It doesn't just happen to you. And if we go like even a little deeper, just for a second, like Judaism doesn't even really believe in that. Like we don't believe in just take it on faith, and we don't believe in like Hashem. I was just reading something fascinating about whatever about marriage and how we are the wife to Hashem, right? Hashem gave us Torah Shabbat Peh because it's supposed to be that we have an equal set in this relationship, and we could get into the sun and the moon. It's all tied in, but right. So everything is something we're supposed to own and we're supposed to claim, right? It's not just like being asked to happen to us. And so I guess hopefully what we can start here and continue in Redemptress is how to take that and tap into it to make it less fluffy because it's really something very concrete.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so funny how we got into this tangent last time. It was not our intention, but it just happened this whole conversation on birth control. And somebody sent in a question after, like, okay, so if redemption mean if menstruation, and we can repeat, like we can review like the cycle of exile and redemption within the menstrual cycle, how it's reflected. But if menstruation is reflecting exile, then why don't we just shut the whole thing off with hormones or whatever it is, and we live redemption? So why is that not redemption, or is it redemption, or what can we say about that?
First, I just want to open up with Hashem just sends things. I saw something literally like this week that the Jews in Mitzrayim were compared to a woman who's in Nida. We all know that we needed the process of Mitzrayim to come to become the people of chosen people of Hashem to get a Torah, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know if we think about it like
And then
that. That
the
they
whole
were like
sphere is the Shivim Manikim.
exactly. So they were in Nida, and
Hmm.
then they had to go through this process of
Yeah.
coming out to
Like
become
they couldn't get the
literally
Torah right away because redemption is not just about getting out of exile. It's also then about
right.
building the process. Yeah.
Exactly, and like building that back up. And so it's
Hmm.
actually that process that gives us redemption. It's not just the fact that we are now in Tahara, it's the fact that we went through the Nida process that gets us to the redemption. And I think this is like something that we really, I think I said this last time, but I want to say it again because I think it's so, so, so important. We are often taught, Taras Mishpacha, I'm like very passionate about this, as just like a set of rules. You you're going to be in this state of tuma. You're not going to be able to even pass to your husband, right? And then we're offered a pill where we could just shut it all off, and it's halachically great. And like, I sometimes tell people who don't understand, like college teachers who don't understand, I'm like, why would a woman not take a pill then? You know, like
Hmm.
meaning you don't have any understand. You don't have. We're not given. I just give a whole birth control class. I talk about this also. We don't have any understanding of what the pill is doing, and we also don't have any understanding on the other side, like no pull factor of why what Taras Mishpacha does for us, besides for the fact that like, well, you just can't, can't be with your husband.
All about the
So
negative, right?
right. So why would we not do that? So I think we
Hmm.
have to shift the narrative to say that there is so much that the cycle has to offer us individually, us as wives, to our marriages, and globally as a people, even, which sounds crazy, but it's true. That we need that process, and I feel pretty confident in saying that I don't think you could get to a level of connection in your marriage that you could get to when you're cycling if you're not cycling. That was confusing way of saying it, but meaning there's a level of connection that you can access if you're cycling and tapping into it that you cannot get to if you are not cycling and tapping into it. So that is, I think, and then I'll ask what you think about this question. But just for me, it's like you need that process. Like the Geula is not gonna again, it's not being just given to you, right? And even like we were saying with Mitzrayim, they at Yetzias Mitzrayim, Jewish people experienced like this overwhelming reveal, this huge inspiration. And there's a mashal, it's like a lightning strike where you're trying to get up this dark mountain, and the lightning strike illuminates the path for you, and then it's dark again, and now you have to actually remember that lightning strike, remember what you saw, and get up the mountain. That's Firas Omer, or Zayin Akiyim. It's totally comparable in Chazal. So we have to then go through the work of earning that redemption, of earning that marriage with Hashem, of earning that extra connection. Not that we can't be connected during Nida, that's another myth, but like that extra level of connection. And so, yeah, it's not, you can't have one without the other. Okay,
Yeah, and I
awesome.
think when you're saying earning, what I'm hearing and what I think we're actually talking about is the receiving part of it because and we talk about Matan Torah is an actual act of receiving, right? Like it's a Kabbalah Torah, right? Like the actual receiving of it
Right, receiving.
is, and I think that's really what redemption boils down to, and that's also what the feminine is really all about, right? The feminine is the receiver, and so many people don't really know what receiving means. It's
But
an
we live in a
internal,
very masculine world.
yeah, and it's such an internal state. And I think to boil down receiving to one word, I would say it's worthiness. And I think that's such a, if you can even say what redemption for a woman is to reclaim her worthiness, reclaim the fullness of who she is. Um, and that word, like, so that receiving, right? Like, so they were worthy of receiving everything already, but the, they couldn't receive, maybe they didn't feel that worthiness themselves, right? They were Memtes Shari Toma. They were like, they couldn't feel that. They couldn't, they were just like taken out and received like these huge gifts that they didn't maybe feel worthy of, and then they had to go through that process of building that for themselves, right? Like the process we go through Sphira is actually building ourselves, building um the like Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, like all those things within ourselves of becoming more of who we already are. And that's why that's really a redemption process in itself. And that's really the missing piece of, yeah, you can get everything, make it, let's make it a little more practical for life today, because that's actually what we're talking about, redemption in our life today. How often have you had this experience where maybe you didn't feel worthy of receiving for a big part of your life? And then let's say things are actually going well and you're waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? You can't really be feeling that experience because you're so used to, your nervous system is used to like things not working out for you, things not being okay. And even if things are okay, the reality outside can be different from the reality within because the receiving is such a big part of it. And the receiving really is developed when we're coming out of that exile to redemption within, it's such an internal process of, yeah, I am deserving, I am worthy, I can be in this full experience, I can receive joy, I can be in joy, right? It's such a different mindset. It's like scarcity versus abundance, right? Like believing that there actually is, it actually is possible, believing miracles are possible for you, believing that you are available to that and that is available to you, right? It's a whole different mindset, but more than a mindset, it is this embodiment. And when we talk about the cycle being the keeper of this, is just like the cycle gives you the exile experience, which many of us sometimes even connect to more because we are in exile overall and we're coming from that experience. Even even like growing up, I feel like maybe it was because of my life path, maybe, but maybe it's a world pattern in general as well. I feel like we were more in an exile mentality, coming from Holocaust survivors, like my grandparents, my kid for me, I'm already the next generation. My great grandmother was a Holocaust survivor,
Right,
but still, like it seeped through the generations, and like this idea of like the persecution and the keeping yourself small so you don't like like it provoke anything, like that's such an exile mindset. And it was a big part of, I don't, wherever in the world you come from, if you come from a Jewish lineage that has been persecuted, it's in your blood, it's in your experience, right? And versus coming into a place of like believing that there is that there's more available, there is a different reality. It's a big process. It is a big process to not just believe that, but incorporate that, integrate that, receive that. So talking about the cycle, right? So for a long time I very much connected with the menstrual, again, in the beginning when I started like first exploring this, I was like, wow, there's so much richness in menstruation. Like it really helped. It's cathartic. It's cathartic because there is,
right,
like we're saying, that exile needs to happen for redemption to fully process. We need that process because there is pain, there is darkness, there is so much that
right,
maybe we've experienced ourselves, maybe we're coming from generations and generations of that, and needs to go through somewhere. And the menstruation release, right? That it's actual release. It's releasing from our body. It's releasing not just physically, but energetically, everything that we're ready to let go of. It's very cathartic. It's very healing when we're connecting to it in that way. And it really can be. We talk about this more I mean, so people have this question a lot. What's the difference between secrets of Nida and Redemptress? Because there's a nuance. Some of it is overlap, but it's not really. It's a very different mindset. So Secrets of Nida is more focused on how to be in the Nida process because so many people are so uncomfortable in that, and for good reason, right? And we talk a lot about being comfortable with discomfort and the freedom of like even when you're in, when let's say you're in labor and like breathing through the contractions is going to get you a lot further than fighting the contractions, right? Like being in that tightness and then in the Mitzrayim, right? Like the tightness of it, the constriction of it actually brings the expansion. So that's more focused on like the actual tools of being in that place and actually receiving the richness of it, being with that experience. Redemptress is you're ready for the expansion. So maybe if you've already taken Secrets of Nidda, you're like in the perfect place to expand even more. But even if you haven't, like this is a beautiful place where I'm sure you've practiced like um being, I mean, I'm saying this, I'm taking this for granted, like, oh, everyone like has experienced being with pain in
right,
an embodied way. I don't know, right? Like not necessarily. But when you have that experience and you let things be and you let your emotions move through, because emotions are energy in motion and they just need to pass, they just need to release, you just need to be with it. And we're so used to fighting it because we're resisting it because it's so uncomfortable or it's and the idea is also what the cycle teaches us is literally everything passes, right? But when we're in that moment, we don't register that. We think this is the end of it and all of it and like this is everything and how am I going to survive and how am I going to like get through this because we're not thinking about getting through it. We're thinking this is like here and the all and everything and this is just pain and I just need to get out of it. And when we're in that mindset of like, wait, everything really does pass and can I be with it? And the irony is that the more present we are with it, we actually allow it to pass through us and move through us because that's exactly just what's happening with the menstrual cycle as well. And that consciousness is what opens us to be conscious with expansion as well. Because you could be numb, right? Let's say we want to numb pain, but the reality is if we numb pain, we numb joy.
right. Well, look exactly at Mitzrayim, because that's
Hmm.
exactly what you're saying. The men were just numb, and we can't blame them, right? They were just like, we can't feel anything anymore, not even hope, because there's so much pain, we have to just shut it all off. And the women, even though they were in the same situation, were able to say, everything comes back around. We know that cycling is a reality. It's something we live, and therefore Geula is going to come. And that is something that they were able to bring to the men. And so that's exactly what happened there, right? And that's exactly how they brought redemption. And I think that, yeah, we like exactly what you're saying. We have that same ability. It doesn't mean, I think we have to put the work in, right? Like we said, it's not being given to us for free, but it's there. It's something we can it's something that we can utilize. And I think actually, yes, obviously it is uncomfortable and it should be uncomfortable. I sometimes say like if you like it, something might be wrong with your marriage, like it's not supposed to be fun, but there's a lot to gain from it.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, how you have to know who you are first and understand. So baseline, you are worthy, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes we have to feel that that is true, and that is some of what you can get for sure in those first few bleeding days when you're coming back into yourself and you're reconnecting with yourself. It's like it's a gift that you can really give to yourself, and then opening back up as the energy starts rising again, back up, towards mikvah, working on other things, maybe in your marriage or just actualizing some more ideas. But yeah, we it's like it's there and it's something that we can really access. And I'm just like thinking how we tie this all back in. I'm so tired. But exactly what you're saying, that right, we have this ability to see, even though it almost seems like it's the hardest thing to see when you're in that hard moment, but this ability that we live every single month is what actually tells us, okay, this too shall pass, and everything always comes back around. And that is the key to redemption. That is why the women were able to be the ones who brought the redemption.
Yeah. And also talking about the process. So a question came in about what if someone is either post-menopause or like literally in their 50s and have some cycles, but maybe not even ovulating, and like what's relevant to them? So first of all, just having gone through this process over and over and over, and then reaching that point, essentially menopause is supposed to be a geula moment.
The whole thing is one big cycle. We
Right,
zoom out.
meaning we've cycled and cycled and cycled. It's kind of like we have cycles of exile and redemption throughout history, but they weren't the full geula, right? It was like just giving you a taste of it, a fraction of it, and then we can't even imagine what the final redemption will be like compared to all that, right? So it's hard to like think of that comparison because how many people think of menopause as a geula experience? First of all, think about it, if you're not connected to your cycles throughout all the years, then what is menopause supposed to be like? I mean, it could feel like a freedom if you're like, oh, good riddance, you know?
Right.
But after that, right? Then there's like the pains of in between of the transitions. That's like, very hard for a lot of people. But the reason why I reference it as a redemption is because we're talking about this process of literally your cycle is working you over and over again. We keep going through this up and down, rise and fall, and it's doing things to us, right? Like just like a heartbeat is up and down, breath is inhale, exhale. We like everything about us is cycles and up and down. There's a reason for that. First of all, flatline is it's not life, right? But there's a reason for that because it's the constant work of it's I don't know, I'm trying to think how to explain it. Anything that you make, anything that you produce, like think about the sourdough, you have the stretch and the fold, and that's working the dough. There's when they make, I think metal, I don't know, there's like all the, if you look into all these production stuff of how things are made, it's always a process of putting it down and building it up, putting it down and building it up, and that's what strengthens it. That's what makes it the strong material that it is, or whatever you're creating, right? And that's what we do with our life. Also, we become stronger through this process. So when I say redemption, when I say menopause is a redemption, so you've already gone through cycles and cycles and cycles and cycles and cycles, and not only with your own cycles, but also let's say with perhaps mishpacha, and then your marriage reaches that point of like, wow, you've both gone through this together all these years, and then you reach that point, okay, we don't need that anymore, or we reach the point where like we sort of graduated to another level where not because of good riddance or not because I mean you could enjoy the freedom. I totally give you permission to do that.
Right.
But it's freedom because it was earned, right? When we said the earned part, not because you have to do something to deserve it. You deserve it intrinsically, but deserving
Right.
is receiving. Deserving is that worthiness of yes, I really felt what it's like to be in that up and down. I really felt that exile and I can now experience redemption. We cannot experience redemption. What is redemption if you didn't have exile, right? Redemption was in the Garden of Eden. No, not sorry, not redemption. Like redemption without exile was in the Garden of Eden. Technically, everything was perfect, but something was lacking. They didn't feel like Chava obviously didn't feel fully satisfied. Like she needed something more, right? Why was it not fully satisfied? Because there wasn't that process of I really was without, and then I reclaimed, and then I fully feel this fullness, this wholeness, right? So exile and redemption are really one cycle. It really goes together. You can't separate it. There's no redemption without exile.
Right. I think, yeah, and I think what you're saying is that you're worthy. Redemption will be there for you anyway, but you're making it something that you've built yourself that's a whole nother level. And there's a muscle of like a rope that you and your spouse are on, you and your husband are on either side. And then every time you go through and hopefully tap into like a successful need to cycle all throughout your life, you make a knot in the rope. What happens as you make a knot? The rope gets smaller and smaller. So then you hopefully get to this point of postmenopause where we don't need that anymore because
Right.
we're one
You've
now, right?
strengthened
Like
so much already. Yeah.
we've worked and worked and worked and worked, and it's not like because sometimes we talk about this and then women are like, well, if it's so amazing, and then why does it eventually go away? Well, because hopefully you've gotten to this point where
Yeah.
like we are so aligned now that
Yeah.
we don't need this process anymore. And I also do want to say if you're near or at that point already and you feel like you haven't tapped in, because this happens a lot. A lot of people learn this and all of a sudden they feel a lot of regret. They'll learn about mikvah and they'll feel like they wasted their years. Like, first of all, Hashem gives you information when you need to know it. This is something Rachel Goldblum said to me about something I was struggling with. Hashem gives you information, right? Just like He gives you, just like we say a bracha every morning, Hashem gives you exactly what you need. Information is part of that. So if you're learning something now, you're learning it now. You're meant to learn it now. You weren't meant to learn it previously. And I do not think that you can't have that connection because you didn't know to make the most of it when you were younger. You can. So you'll work on it now and you'll just have different tools to work on it. So I don't want to make it sound like, oh, that's impossible now. But if you are still in the cycling years, you should just know that it's a tool. And it's also like the way Hashem works, that on every single level, scientifically, every single time you menstruate and you go through that healthy, normal cycle, it banks something in your body for the future. It builds your bones, it builds your muscles. Like we need this. It makes us healthier every time. And also, hopefully, we're tapping into it and it makes our connection with our spouse deeper as we go through it as well.
Yeah. I love that you said that because it just reminds us again, like how the physical, emotional, and spiritual are really one, like one thread, one string of like same reality, just expressed differently. Like, yes, physically it
Right.
builds you, and emotionally it builds you, and spiritually it builds you. And this building, it also reminds me of the 6 days of work and then Shabbos, right? The 6 weekdays and then Shabbos. Because yes, there's this work involved, right? And we think about I don't know, all this effort we're putting in. And I wanna like um discharge that a little bit because it's so charged of like, oh, we're working so hard and working so hard on ourselves and working so hard on our marriage. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But like actually the there is that work part of the building, right? The building is the weekday experience and the Shabbos is the redemption experience. Shabbos is the receiving, Shabbos is the feminine. And there's so much there. Like it says the whole world was created for Shabbos because yes, there's all this action, all this work. Then when are we gonna receive it? When are we actually gonna say, I put so much effort into this or that. When am I actually going to enjoy it? When am I actually going to take pleasure in my life and everything I've built and everything I've created? When am I actually going to acknowledge, like, look how far I got, look how far I came, like, look at this beautiful life, look at this, right? There's always something you can look at. Like when they say gratitude is it builds more, like brings more gratitude and brings more joy. It's not a joke. It's not something like, oh, just a nice thing, like be more grateful. It actually, it's where we focus, right? Like where we, there's always going to be a black and white. There's always going to be dark and light. There's always going to be different things to focus on, and what we focus on grows. So the more we focus on redemption, the more we focus on joy, the more we focus on gratitude, and what's already working. Because yes, there's always things that aren't working. There's always more we can improve, and that's the weekday experience. That's the tikkun experience. We're still in the world of tikkun. We're still in the world of fixing, but we're also moving towards the world of redemption, where we can start receiving and start being with, and that's the feminine way of, wait, what if it's already here? What if the work that I'm working for? What if everything I'm waiting for? What if I can just open my eyes and see that it's already here? What if I can already receive it, even in just parts, even if it's not 100%, even just some of it, because what we focus on grows. And I think that's also like a big part of drawing in redemption, because yes, it's not just that end of time that we're waiting for. It's also we're approaching it and we can draw it in. Like it's almost like bringing Shabbos early. Like yeah, we can or even like preparing for Shabbos, but like in a mindful way of okay. Like I can feel that already. I can be with that already. And there's yeah, continue. I feel like there's just so much here
Yeah.
that this is bringing up. Yeah.
I think you one time posted something like this because it got me thinking.
Hmm.
I remember thinking the song, it's time for Shabbos because all my work is done, right? My work
Hmm.
is not done when Shabbos comes in. Like I often say, like if I didn't keep Shabbos, I would just keep working.
Right.
Like, and I for sure would. But I think rest is built into our creation because we need that time to let go and say like, okay, I'm going to enjoy what I've built so far. Like you're saying, the work is never done. Right? The work is when we finish our work in this world, we go to the next world. Our work is not done because we're here, right? We're on the journey. But Shabbos is teaching us, and like you're saying, Shabbos is the feminine. It's interesting that women keep Shamar and Zachar, keep all the halachos of Shabbos as well as
Women
men.
bring in Shabbos with lighting
Yeah,
candles.
because it is that feminine, and feminine and
Yeah.
masculine are equivalent in the world to come. But so it's that rest, it's that letting go, it's that enjoying and being with, like you're saying. And yeah, I think we can I think there's part of that also in our menstrual cycle. Just,
Yeah,
we need to do that there as well.
absolutely.
But yes, it's true. We have to balance out this doing with this also this being, and it's built into the system for us.
Right. So with the menstrual cycle, I mean, this process is happening. We'll talk about like different kind of situations, people who have irregular cycles or no cycles at all, like how this applies. But let's say in a regular menstrual cycle, you have, okay, after menstruation, your body restarts a new cycle, and the hormones are stimulating the ovaries to produce more, to grow the follicles. The follicle is like the little container that holds the egg that's going to be released. It's almost like a pregnancy before a pregnancy. Why do I think I said this in the last call? Like I feel like maybe we're repeating stuff, but we're going on very
Might
different
be,
angles.
but
Okay,
anyway.
but the point is that it's already designed to happen. You don't have to do anything to get your body to that point. Okay, we'll talk about how there are stuff, times when ovulation is delayed, times when your body's not feeling supported to do
But that's
anything.
because
But
we have blockers. That's because there's something needs to be maybe like
right,
worked
right,
on.
meaning right,
But
yeah.
ideally, your body does this.
So my approach, like let's say if people come to work with me to balance their hormones or to, either get pregnant naturally or, whether it's even for natural birth control, but they want to support their cycle while they're at it. So I always come to the approach like your body naturally wants to do what it needs to do, right? Your body, you're not broken, you're already whole, but what's getting in the way of your body not doing this thing? Because we're the system, like our physical system, our body is very very wise, very smart. It's built for survival. Reproduction is secondary to survival, right? So anything that's getting in the way of survival is going to pull from our reproductive energy because we don't need that if we don't need that to survive. But if we need to survive, like our energy needs to be prioritized there. But but the but it's more about like looking like just like revelation of redemption, right? Like what's blocking, right? What can we reveal? What can we unveil? What can we like take away? That's more the idea of it's not about fixing something that's broken. It's
Right. It's like
what's the
removing
veil here?
what's
What's yeah, like you said, what's blocking? But more than that, like what is what wise thing is your body doing now to protect you? Like that's really what
right.
it is, right? Like what is the cause that your body needs to protect you more now? Like what's keeping you unsafe, right? Like it goes deeper. It's not always physical. It can be emotional, spiritual as well. Sometimes it can be just physical, like basic taking care of ourselves, right? Like sometimes we
Right.
forget to do
Right.
that. But the idea of how did we even get into this? Why did
And you were saying like
oh,
letting go, meaning your body does it. But then we
right.
went on
So
a tangent because sometimes it doesn't. But let's say it does.
right? Then that's the natural rhythm of the body. That's the cycle that the women were able to take their faith from. That okay, we bleed, we cycle, we ovulate, we birth, we conceive. We have this is the natural rhythm of life. Like new life comes, new opportunity comes. Like the uterus is the most optimistic organ. Like it keeps trying again and again, right? Because that's how
Against
it's
all odds.
built. That's how we're built. We're built to build ourselves up over and over again. And that's also the Jewish people, right? Like think of that. The Jewish people are so connected to like the feminine, like Hashem's bride, right? And we do keep rebuilding ourselves over and over again, no matter how many times we fall. And that's also that concept of exome redemption, menstruation and ovulation, the bleeding and the healing and the rebuilding. So yeah, there's so much that we're taking out of our physical experience.
And I also will just add, because we're talking again about women in Mitzrayim, I was learning some like much deeper sources in Taras Mishpacha recently, and I actually said that the need of time, like for sure the bleeding days, is a time of the feminine, where the masculine has to step back and let the feminine rebuild its amuna. It was talking about how, how we say like, well, where does this natural amuna that women have come from? Like it's actually from those bleeding days when we rest and we sit and we rebuild not only our connection with ourselves, but also our connection with Hashem. That's when we have that time where the masculine, usually we want both together, and every person has both feminine and masculine. So we're not really saying like the man has to step back for the woman to do that work. But it is a time when we're focusing on the feminine and we're focusing on Amuna is feminine. So we're focusing on rebuilding that Amuna, that connection. So it's all tied into the cycles. Like when we say, like we said last, I know we said last time and we already said this time, when people just say like, oh, the women just had that Amuna, or women have Amuna in dark times to know it's going to get better. Like
Because
we,
that's
we
what we
live it.
live. We live
Yes.
it.
And so if we tap into that, then yeah,
Yeah,
that's where it comes from.
exactly. So I want to focus on some of the questions that came in. I see some questions are coming in as well. just to give us time to like focus on what people are asking. I think we did bring into a more structured perspective of like what this actually means in your body, in your life. Um, Again, we'll talk about it a lot more in Redemption. So if this is fascinating to you and you want to take it deeper, I'll tell you more about that at the end. And so remember, could also tell you more about it. We can have a conversation about what that opened up for you. But I want to take questions that came in because okay, so one question that came in was seemingly unrelated, but she was asking about in general my programs, but I think it's very applicable to here. She was like, do any of my programs or do I ever address HG in pregnancy, right? I can't even pronounce what it stands for, but like when you're overly nauseous and like not just nauseous, but have like
Like
really,
very sick.
really intense. Can you pronounce it?
Hyper
Hyperglyc,
something
yeah.
gravitas. Yes, yes. HG.
Like
We'll just
very
call it HG.
yeah, very intense,
Very
and it can
sick.
sometimes
Yeah.
last like all the way through pregnancy, right? So I think for like when I come across like different um like sometimes people ask, what is my work tailored to? Like, what do I treat? And first, I don't treat. I'm not a doctor. I don't treat. But like people ask, like, okay, so you help women get pregnant, you help women who need natural birth control, who have irregular cycles, PCOS, this, that, and it's not about the symptoms because I see all the symptoms as messengers from the body, right? Like what it like again, coming back to that redemption, that wholeness, what is getting in the way, right? So I'm always going to come back from this perspective of yes, that is going to be redemption. That is a call to redemption for you in terms of HG is definitely an exile experience, right? It's where pregnancy is supposed to be like this expansion of life, right? This creation of new life, and birth especially is such a redemption experience. And for you, birth is definitely a redemption experience because it gets you out of the HG.
Right.
Um, but the idea of how can we hold that as okay, so again, obviously take care of that and do your treatments or whatever you need to be more comfortable to take care of that, right? That's not necessarily, I mean, again, if I work with someone one-on-one, I would like, we would work through more individualized care. But the idea of the redemption experience, okay, so how does that apply? Because again, like I said in the beginning, when I say redemption, it really encapsulates everything. It's really the transformation that I want for every woman who works with me. It's really the transformation of reclaimed womanhood. It really it boils down to that. It's it's not about just fixing your symptoms. It's not about just getting out of pain. It's thriving. It's being your full self as a woman, whatever that looks like. And can that be a promise that your period will never be painful again? That your labor won't be painful? I mean, we said the Gula experience of like, pain-free labor and all these things. Great, but you might still have that, right? And it doesn't mean you're not living Geula. You can still be in a different mindset, in a different place, a different embodied experience. So I just put that in, not as bringing a solution for HG, because again, I don't know more details and it's not something that is my specialty at all. But I just wanted to bring it in as an example of like different symptoms that might come up that they're all going to bring you to that consciousness of, oh, that is my exile experience, right? And exile experience could be anything. It could be a hard relationship you have with someone. It could be a hard time with parenting, with a hard time at work, with any situation where you feel constricted is exile. Any situation where you can feel more expanded or there's an opening or there's hope or there's light, that is what we call redemption. So I just wanted to clarify that because it's very real life, very in like with whatever you're going through, every single person can say they have an exile redemption experience when we understand it from this perspective. So I'm gonna see if there are more questions here. Um, would love to hear about where you guys did your learning sources for these concepts about cycle and Geula, what it means to embody masculine and feminine energies. Like, where did you learn these concepts and what it's based on Torah-wise? So many great resources. So, remember, you want to start?
Yeah, I just responded. Do you see it? I put some books on
Oh,
there.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Those are great books.
yeah,
Yeah, The Moon's
those
Lost
are all good
Light,
books.
yeah,
Yeah, I would definitely say that just be assured that this is Torah based.
yeah,
Like this is definitely like all source. This is just it's just very some very deep concepts. But I would start with these books. These are really good books.
yeah. Circle Arrow Spiral, The Moon's
But they're
Lost Light.
very deep. Don't
They
expect a
are.
light read.
Yeah.
You have to use your brain.
Yeah, you know what? For me, I started with the Moon's Lost Light. It totally blew my mind. And it wasn't like remember, I was already like doing other learning in the cycle in general, so I made the connections instantly when I read, and I mentioned it last time, I believe, the Kabbalistic writings of the Nature of Masculine and Feminine by Sari
Right.
Schneider. That's a much deeper book, and like that's where things clicked more. There were more connections of let's say Miriam Circle Dance, which we talk about a lot in Redemptress. There's so much there of like what Miriam and the women actually knew and how they embody the cyclical wisdom. So for me, it came first like, I just learned things within my experience of like, there's something here, there's something the cycle has to teach me that's not just like, oh, something to hide, something to be ashamed of. Like, I refuse to believe that, again, this was coming after a process of, let's say, me connecting to Hashem in a different way and like knowing, okay, the Hashem that I know now does not want me to have a cycle that I'm ashamed of. He did not create a part of me that I need to hide and not learn something from. It was just me where I was coming from, but it opened a door of like, wait, I'm not just meant to suffer from PMS my whole life. Like there has to be a different way. I'm not going to be a victim to my cycle my whole life. Like something just changed. You just have to have that one question, that one curiosity of like something can be different. And once you start believing that, you open the door to redemption. And then the answer is really calm.
And
You
also,
let
yeah, I was gonna
yourself be
say
led. Yeah,
Hashem sends things. Like when you have a
exactly,
will, you just have to have the will. You don't have
exactly.
to do, you don't have to complete it. You have to do the will. Hashem sends you the things.
Yeah,
But I do want to take, if it's okay, the question that's in the chat also now. I just
yeah.
want
Go
to
for it. There's
quickly.
one more question.
Um, Someone asked, what about someone has to be on birth control for medical reasons and it's really
Yeah.
challenging? The first thing that I want to say before I even address the question is if you've done your research and you know that this is the method for you, then great. I don't want to like plug for myself, but I just gave a birth control class on many, many options. And such a common response was, I cannot believe that for 15 years I've been married, I've just been taking what the doctor gives me or whatever. So if
Without
you
thinking about
have
it. Yeah.
not explored options, I want to let you know you can reach out. I'm trying to think best way, I guess, inrhythmcourses at gmail.com, and my
Yeah.
class is
We'll put the
available.
information in the recording as
Um,
well. Yeah.
okay, yeah, it's not free anymore. It was free. It's $20 now, but just if you do want to explore what's out there, just in case. Now, but I also do want to say that Hashem puts
Put
things in
it
our
here for a
lives,
reason.
right? So
Exactly.
when we're talking about shutting off cycles and whatever, maybe you have other options. If this is what you have to be on, like I do consultations with people, and very often when there's a medical, like a sakana, we'll say, okay, you have to be on hormones, and that might shut off your cycles. It might not, and it might. There are different options. It's not actually, it's pretty nuanced, but Hashem put you in that place, so
Yeah.
you know that that's the right place for you, and there are challenges within that, like everything in life. I do think that we can learn about what the cycle has to offer to us and then utilize those same concepts even if we're not cycling. I do think that that's possible to build that connection. But I definitely want to validate and say that, like, we're not saying that, like, oh my goodness, it's so bad. Like, Hashem gave it to you. And if you're in a medical situation, so you have clarity that Hashem gave you this and it's a challenge, but it's something that you know that that's the right place for you.
Yeah. I think redemption is so much higher than what's actually happening in your body. That's what we didn't even mention. Like, what if someone doesn't have a cycle? Does this apply to them? Or someone asks me, oh, they're past menopause. Can they join redemptress? And as long as your body knows the experience, right? The feminine body is made to experience exile redemption. So let's say someone passed menopause. Your body remembers. Your body lived this for years and years and years. You know the cycle of exile redemption. If you need to be on birth control, you still know the cycle of exile redemption when you so let's say a woman who doesn't have her cycle, so that's there is something there, like what, because a healthy woman is supposed to cycle, like that's actually a fifth vital sign. But
Right.
again, like, okay, so looking into those reasons, but also like this is the cyclical reality you've been given now. What is that meant to show you about you and your life? Right? The cycle is a reflection of your life. What is it showing about your life? What is out of balance? Like if something's out of balance with your hormones or with your cycle, the first thing, like that's why, like I look at it from a whole life perspective. What is going on in your life? Like we look at, I study people's charts, right? Because I do fertility awareness. I teach people how to track their cycles. So let's say I review someone's charts and let's say, oh, why is this chart so like all over the place? And like, what happened in your life this month? Like automatically
Yeah.
we get answers like, oh, something happened, something stressful,
Fascinating.
something this, like travel,
Right.
this, whatever it is, right? The cycle reflects that. Sorry, what were you saying?
No, just agreeing. You put in your chart. I traveled. I was stressed. I didn't sleep so well.
For
It was
sure,
Purim,
for sure.
and you see it reflected in your. It's really, yeah. I'm just agreeing
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
So the I don't know what I was gonna
sorry,
say. Okay, I'm gonna
cut you
continue
off.
with more
Yeah.
questions, but because we have 10 more minutes left, but I want to get to people's questions. So interesting that you said about reproduction being secondary to survival. So what about someone who's overly fertile? So I don't know what exactly I mean by overly fertile. We ovulate once per cycle. So you'll have one time that an egg is released per cycle. That means that you're fertile for about, let's say, 5 days before, about you're fertile about 5 to 7 days every cycle. So what does overly fertile mean? That you get pregnant right away when you try? Amazing. Like that's the or are you saying that birth control doesn't work for you? That doesn't mean overly fertile. It means your body's resisting something that's working against it. So
It means your body's very strong, actually,
yeah, very
probably.
resilient and not letting it be overrated. So there are ways to, that's actually why I prefer, like especially for, people who are saying this. Again, you have to see what works for you. I also do consultations about to see what's the right method for you. And I don't always say fertility awareness. People think because I'm a fertility awareness educator, I'm going to tell everyone to try to practice fertility awareness. It's not for everyone. You have to see if it's really meant for you. Many times, well, not many times, but I've recommended people to, let's say they're postpartum and they're not in the headspace right now. Like they're immediately postpartum. They need something right now. It takes about 3 months for the fertility awareness method to be reliable as an effective method. So you don't have 3 months to wait now. You need something right now, and you don't have the headspace to start tracking. I've recommended the copper ID, and so I always tell people, look, you're not married to your method. If you see in a few months, you need to reevaluate. That's what you do. I recently recommended the pill for someone because they were getting married and they knew how to track their cycle, but they were like, okay, so what is it going to take me to like really be into it, be on top of it? Because they weren't doing like strictly for birth control. They were just aware of their cycle, and they're like, I don't know if I can handle that stress on top of like a new marriage and adjusting to new life as whatever, all that. And I look, I'm here for you, right? So whatever, we're here to discuss what actually works for you in your life. And she knew that option would be available for her when she's ready, and she doesn't have to, like, let's say she's wants to put in pregnancy for 6 months, a year, whatever it is. Obviously, you got your head to and you discuss these questions, what you need to discuss with your rep. But we said, look, try the pill for 2, 3 months, see how you feel. You're not married to it. You can always look, and she was very aware. It might change things in my body. I might have to give myself time to heal my body from that, to whatever it is, right? So I'm just sharing this because I want you to be aware. First, of all, like Sir said, there's no one option for everyone. There's options out there for a reason, but also because redemption is really above that. Redemption is really connecting to Hashem's will for you, right? We're like, if I ask you, what does Hashem want from you? What is Hashem's will for you? How many people can really answer that confidently? Or like, how am I supposed to know? But are you really connected to that life force within you, to the trust, to the faith of I'm being led. Hashem is showing me the way. What am I open to? What can I see? I'm doing my due diligence. I'm doing my research. I'm tracking what's right for me. Redemption is not a right or wrong. It's not one way for everyone. It very much has to do with choice, right? So your choices and reclaiming your choice is a big one, right? Even like related to like mikvah and things like that, taharat mishpacha. Like I feel so much joy when like a client would have like a whole new mikvah experience or a whole new taharat mishpacha experience because they actually were able to let's say someone like asked a child about pushing off mikvah. It was like a very stressful experience then, and the option was open, like, meaning she got her there, but then she was able to go on time, and it was her choice. It wasn't like she didn't in the past. She would have felt like it was forced, like she has to, and would have been so stressed and whatever. So reclaiming that element of choice, which so many women don't have, which so many women don't feel. So there's so much about redemption that's beyond like black and white, actual things. It's not something tangible like that. It's more like the bigger picture.
And just for 1 second about choice, like we said at the beginning, it's really a very Jewish concept that we have like that we're not just supposed to just like be taken along, and this even if we go even a lot more global to the moon and the sun, right? So we could talk about the moon and the sun being like the ultimate what it was supposed to be before the Chay. It's like the ultimate marriage, right? Where the moon takes and reflects back the sun's light and is its own entity with the light, but the light of the sun. I won't get deeper into it, but I want to zoom out and say that the moon is actually all, when we look at Bnei Israel and when we look at the Jewish people on Hashem, we are the moon.
Right.
And so,
Yeah, we didn't
and
talk about that
part of
much, the
that,
connection to the
yeah, we
moon, the
didn't talk about so
sun.
much this time, but the moon, I love this. The moon is always whole, right? We're always
Right.
whole. We wax
Exactly.
and wane. You see different parts, but we're always whole, and we're reflecting back the light of the sun. And when you zoom out, actually, the Jewish people are the feminine. We are the moon, and Hashem is the sun. And part of that relationship is that Hashem gave us, like I said a little bit earlier, I didn't get into so much. Hashem gave us Torah Shabbat Peh. Hashem gave us the ability for Rabbanim, our Chazal, to say something, and then He made it true because they said it. Like there are things that
Yeah.
Chazal said that Hashem didn't necessarily, so to speak, agree with, whatever that means, but He made it true because He gave that power to them. So this is like we're in a partnership, and all of Judaism, all of Yiddishkeit believes that. I say in my birth control class, like it's not supposed to be that you feel like someone else is controlling your body. It's not. And I have that on authority from Rabbanim, right? Like, and we talk about a lot about money in that
Imuna, I
class.
love
But,
that. Someone put in the
oh,
chat,
that's so
Imuna,
cute.
like with the word moon.
Exactly. Look, we may have to make like a new, like a WhatsApp sticker, I mean, but, yeah, it's really all about that. And actually the Amuna is the moon, right? Because it seems like it disappears, but it's really always there. But
Yeah.
anyway, I'm saying that choice. I'm just trying to deepen the idea that choice is a part of being Jewish. Do you want to talk about Redemptress for our last few
Yeah,
minutes
I just
here?
want to say one more thing about the moon because the moon is actually the light in the dark. That's exactly what we're doing with Redemptress, with anything, with reclaiming our womanhood, is we are being the light in the dark because we are still in exile. That is the reality. But we get to be the light as well, and we get to bring the light back in, and we get to bring redemption into exile. That's exactly what we're revealing the light in the dark, we're revealing the redemption within the exile. And that's essentially what it boils down to, because the more we can bring the light in, the more it's like I said, what we focus on grows. So like focus more on redemption, bring in more redemption. That's what we have this time of year every year to come back to, because that's what we get to focus on and grow.
And
Um
I just want to say one final thing. Like you
yeah.
can still do kind of what they did in Mitzrayim. I mean, in a lot of levels, but
Yeah.
we can learn this and access this, and then we can bring that reality into our home, not by forcing it on anyone,
Yeah.
but by making it so real to us, and then so real to our family members that this is something that they can feel and taste. Something I used to do. I meant to say this, and so I want to say very quickly. Before I even connected this to the women stuff, and it seemed more concrete, even though it's really more concrete now. I would talk a lot. I like when I speak to give practical application. So I would talk a lot about, okay, well, how do we bring this consciousness of Geula? How do we really feel this? And one of the ways was I could share it later. I don't have a link right now, but there's like a Mishpacha article actually that someone wrote. I think Rabbi Nisla wrote it about maybe what based on sources what Geula might look like, and it was so practical. It was like the government did this, and then the Rabbanim like
Oh, there's
a Aguda
another
said
book called The
this.
Future by Rabbi Lawrence Hayoff. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. It's also, he talks about like how different signs that we can see
But
redemption
I
in the
feel like it
world.
makes it so real because you're like,
Yeah.
oh, this is not something like
Yeah.
magic is gonna happen. This is like it's gonna happen. It's happening, you know. And so all these different little things. I mean, I think the biggest tip now is tapping into your cycle. But I used to say like little things like having certain imagery and whatever. I won't get into it now. But all I'm saying is like you can bring that
I think tapping
awareness
into the
into your
cycle is
home.
the most powerful because it's available to us.
Yeah,
It's in our body. It's in our, like, it's not something extra we have to do. You're already cycling. And it's going to make your cycle experience easier to be more conscious of it. And it's going to change your life to be more conscious with your cycle.
yeah.
So
100%.
that's exactly how Redemptress was born. And I wouldn't even have offered it now because I had such a crazy busy season this year. My sister got married 2 weeks ago. I had a training before. It was just like a busy season. The only reason I even am doing it is because I promised the ladies from last year that they're going to
Right.
come back
We're
every year
waiting.
free. So I'm like, look, March 9, I'm showing up for the ladies from last year. And people, come join because you're going to love it. There's so much to gain. So that's kind of like where I'm coming from of like, okay, we're already a group. We already formed, and you can join that group and be part of the sisterhood that's already growing for the years to come. So it's exactly that. It's decoding the power of our cycle. It's so funny because my other offers, the embodied course and Secrets of Nida, are more like it feels more tangible. It's like, oh, I'm teaching the fertility awareness method. I am learning how to reclaim Taharas HaMishpacha, right? It's like actual things that women are dealing with: birth control, fertility, Taharas HaMishpacha. Okay, Redemptress is really where it all comes together because redemptress is actually the root of how I view cycles. It's really how cycles is the healing power for all of this. It's really how cycles are being it's why Taras Mishpacha is having us be conscious of our cycle. It's why fertility and birth control and all the things of why the cycle is such a big part of our life as women, because it's like, hello, pay attention. The cycle has so much to offer you. And redemption is really where we decode all that, where we come back to like, what is the cycle really here to offer us? And it comes back to all these concepts of what the women in Mitzrayim knew, what redemption is all about on a practical lived experience, especially as women, because we do carry it, we do hold it, and we do also pass it on to like the men
Right.
in our life or
We
people who
are the
don't have
ones. Yeah.
experience to cycles, and it's I mean we talk a lot about how let's say a woman can technically, of course we a woman has a drive to be with a man and be married and like have that relationship, but the Torah says specifically for a man how it's not good for a man to be alone, or a man is missing out on life, actual life experience, because women, we are the bringers of life, we are the carriers of life, not just in the way of like reproduction and having children, but actually the life energy that's moving through our cycles. We carry it, we hold it, we have the life and death, the exile and redemption, the full cycle that we move through. So there's so much we explore in that. And so Miriam can also tell you about her experience because when she joined, and then it just opened a whole new door of all this whole topic, right? So yeah, this is the missing piece that's not spoken about because without this piece, redemption can sound very fluffy or out there or not really accessible. And this makes it so accessible. Another thing that you might have heard out there that's like a buzzword is the word manifestation. And that's essentially also what redemption is, right? Manifest is to make known, to see clearly something that was really already there, like the seed, like pregnancy is like birth is a manifestation of conception, right? Like that initial seed that now became known and was born. And redemption is also birth, right? Mashiach, the Chevle Mashiach, the birth pangs, right? So much that we experience as women, we have it in our body, we feel it, we experience it through birth, through cycles. So that's really what we're exploring in Redemptress. And it's really the missing piece that brings it home, that makes it embodied, that makes it a practical physical experience, and it changes how you approach, how you come into Pesach, because there's a reason we do it this time of year. And this might be the last time that I give the classes live. Like we'll see how it goes, but I'm probably gonna, I'm giving classes live this time, and it will just be pre-recorded for the next time. I'll still do Q&As, every year, but this is probably the last time I'm teaching it live. So another
Don't
opportunity
miss out.
to join.
I think
Yeah,
if you want to hear more about this, and you also Pessy gives activations and journaling prompts. The amazing thing is, if you're too busy to do all of it, you'll get it again. Like I didn't do everything last year. It still
you
had
don't
big
have to,
impact
and you
on
still
me.
have an impact. You
And
still get
right,
it. Yeah.
exactly. And you get to come back every time. And again, like you're saying, Pessy, like this time of year, it's just to tap into this is so, so powerful to bring it into your Pesach. And if you're interested in this and you want to hear more, you want to make it a little more practical, don't get me started. I mean, I obviously love Geula, but some of the talk out there about like women will bring Geula and it is only fluffy drives me crazy. Like, I shouldn't say that because it's good to bring this awareness to people,
Yeah.
but if you want the real deal, like this is it. It's Torah based, it's sourced, it's really connecting to what you are that allows you to understand redemption. It's not just like, yeah, women are gonna bring redemption, yay, let's all sing and dance. Like, and I feel mean saying that, but like there's real, like we said all the way back at the beginning, just tying it back in, you have to put in that work and do that, that learning to really connect. Like I always say, if you want to connect more with the mitzvah, Taras Mishpacha, I just said this, I just posted about this with Purim, anything, you learn about it. You learn about it, it becomes your own. So if you want to learn more about this, delve into it more deeply, make it more practical, and also have just in time for the season of redemption for Nisan, for Pesach, then yes, highly recommend Redemptress.
Yeah, but more than learning, because I think what this really brings so strongly together, it's like you can learn. There are so many beautiful Torah classes, and they're all, like some of them might. I mean, depends, right? Not everyone's going to teach you this perspective, but I think what's really unique about this is you're not just learning something with your mind, right? It's not just intellectual. There are a lot of teachings, and I think you were even telling me like, oh, I don't remember all the content that I learned, but I know that something shifted. I know that
But
I
it made
became
a
a new
difference.
person,
Yeah.
and I think that's the key here, because you might not remember everything, and you'll get to come back and hear it again. But more than that, you're in this space that we're reclaiming this in such a beautiful way together in sisterhood and community. You change. Your Pesach changes, your year changes, your life changes. Once you see the cycle this way, once you see yourself this way, your womanhood this way, there's no knowing what will come after, because
Right.
everything really shifts so strongly, regardless of the actual like intellectual knowledge that you have to remember, memorize everything. It's not really so much, it's there. There's beautiful content there, but it's so much more than that. It's the actual embodied experience that we really bring you into.
Right. I was gonna say that word embodied. That's really what makes a
Yeah.
difference because we can learn on an intellectual level, which is good and important. We should listen to Shira, but that's also a more masculine way. And when we bring it in and like think about it, like you feel this difference, it ripples out to your family, it ripples out beyond that. Like that's really, really making a difference.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have time for one more question? Because someone did post a question about shalom bias. I know you're gonna love taking that, but I don't know if you have to go
Um,
already.
let's do it quickly. My team is all waking up on the West Coast, and I'm like looking at all my screens. All my messages are coming in, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm here, but I'm not really here yet. Okay, let's see.
Yeah,
I
here.
did, I did see it.
Yeah, what do you think about relationship teachers stressing more of a chesed approach for wives trying to build shalom bias?
So, the second part I think is important also, meaning like the type of advice about giving in and saying yes to your man. Okay,
Yeah.
this is a really big question.
Yeah, we're
So
not
that's
gonna
why
get fully into it,
I
but a little
kind of,
bit.
I kind of didn't answer it when I saw it because it's like it could be its own talk. Do you
Yeah.
want to start, Pessy, or should I?
So I think you have a lot more to say on it because do you work with couples or just with women? But you
With
definitely
women.
focus on shalom bias a lot more.
Yeah, yeah, I talk about this. Okay, there's obviously a lot of controversy around some of these theories.
Hmm.
Here's what I would say. In a healthy relationship with two healthy people, there's a lot to be said for certain skills that sometimes women don't have. We sometimes see women who don't understand, like, certain skills of letting certain things go, of respect, certain pieces of respect, of not criticizing, these sorts of things. I think it's not an across the board prescription.
Right.
Because if you're working with somebody who's maybe not healthy, it's extremely dangerous to say that that's something you should do to subjugate yourself to somebody who's not healthy. I would not recommend that. B, I think you have to be, you have to, again, you have to know a specific situation and you have to know when to give in and when not to give in. We are two separate beings who are creating a unit, but we are not one same person. And sometimes people get nervous, like, well, I don't agree with that. I got married and I don't agree with everything. Like, does that mean, no, you should not agree with everything. If somebody tells me they've been married 10 years and they've never had an argument, something is wrong, And so it's like a Venn diagram, right? And there's my world and there's his world and then there's the part that intersects. But there are a lot of things that go in my world or his world. And I think the real type of giving in and saying yes is actually letting him have his world without judgment. It's a lot of work. But saying, for example, what comes up a lot is like hashkafic or halachic, right? Let's say he's not getting up for shachris. I'm just going to say that example. We hear that a lot, right? So there does come a point, again, in a healthy relationship, where his spiritual self is in his world. And so I have to do a lot of work because I have to not lose respect. I have to still respect that he's a person and this is hard for him. But it's not my world. I have my own spiritual world. And sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes the wife is doing something, that the husband's not happy with. And this is the real work of marriage, of being able to look at you and say, I see you. I see every part of you. I'm not judging any part of you. I'm here to support you. So it doesn't mean saying yes to everything he wants because I am my own person. And if
Right.
I just say yes to everything he wants, it's going to become resentment and it's going to build up. Are there some things that I'm making fights about that really I could just let go and it wouldn't build up resentment? Yes. Should I let those things go? Yes. Should I learn about men that like sometimes he needs personal space? And when he goes to the bathroom, he might be saying, I need my space, even though I need his help, right? Sometimes we have to have conversations about that. Sometimes I'm going to let him do that because I understand where it's coming from. So I guess my answer is basically not an answer to say that like it's very,
There's no
very
one answer. It's so individual.
right. So it depends on you, it depends on your situation, it depends on your husband. There's room for yes, there's room for no. I think it's very important to know that you're two individuals, but your goal is unity, oneness, and connection. Your goal is that you're building this unit together, that you're on the same team against the problem.
I
So I don't know
will,
if that's
yeah,
really an
I'll
answer,
just
but
I'll just add to that because chesed and gevura really come together. You can't have one without the other. Again, back to the cycle. The cycle really helps us embody that more because just giving because you need to is
right.
one thing. Okay, if you want to do that, it doesn't work well for me. Like I need to be when I give, I want to give from a wholesome place. I don't want to be resentful. And and you might think like, oh, so I'll never give. Sometimes you might be in a cycle where you've given so much and deleted yourself so much that you might be pendulating to the other end and like, oh, I need to receive a lot before I'm ready to give from a wholesome place. Maybe you're there, but the goal is really that it balances. It's like, there's a part of the cycle, and you don't have to stay stuck on a phase of the cycle. But again, the cycle represents this balance. So there's a part of the cycle when you are more in the receiving mode. Think about the new moon, receiving all its light from the sun and absorbing it without giving it back,
Right.
without shining out to the world. And then the full moon is shining everything right back. So we kind of reflect that when we are naturally following our rhythm of, yes, we do feel more like giving and more like shining and more like just being that light for everyone around us when we're close to ovulation. And we do need to receive more and step back and take care of ourselves and let others take care of us when we're at menstruation. But it's not always going to work out so perfectly, so don't get stuck on that. But the point is, give yourself that balance of chesed and gevura, of boundaries and shining, of being there for others and being there for yourself and letting yourself be nurtured as well. So there, yeah, like you said, it's a bigger conversation, but I just wanted to add that,
Right.
please.
And there's always a balance. Like you can't have if you have only chesed without the boundaries of gevura, it's
Yeah,
extremely unhealthy. And if you have only gevura without any chesed, it's also extremely unhealthy. Tiferes is really kind of like the combination. But yeah, I
yeah.
guess that's the answer. It depends.
I think we need to call it a day. I'd love to stay on longer. You need to go already. But yeah, so there's so much here. There's so much more that we could discuss about this. We went wherever we needed to go. We answered quite the questions that came. Most of the questions came in. A lot were repeats of like similar questions. So I hope you got what you needed out of this and something changed in you for your perspective of redemption, for your perspective of your experience as a woman, as a cycling woman, or wherever you are in that spectrum. And if you are intrigued by this, I want to learn more, please join us next week in Redemptress because we're going to take this to a whole new level. It's a full 10 days. So it's starting March 9th, it's ending March 18th, which is Erev Rosh Chodesh Nisan, which is exactly how I design it to be like leading into Rosh Chodesh Nisan, into the season of redemption. It's between Purim and Pesach, where we come from Esther being the woman who brought redemption in her way, and the woman of Mitzrayim who brought redemption and Mitzrayim, and then us being those women in this time in this generation, and how we can really harness all of that whole perspective, and then really from our cycle, like how did they know? Like how did Esther know? How did the women inside know? How do we know? And tapping
Right.
back into that. So I'm looking forward to that very
Yeah.
much. I'm looking
And I would
forward
just
to
say
having
also
you
it's
back.
very accessible. Like if you feel like you're very busy, it's accessible. There's recordings, there's activations you do on your own.
Yeah.
Like trust me, I know busy. You can still even
Whatever,
take a little
whatever
bit
you're able
and
to,
get
right? If you're
connected
able
there.
to just do the live calls,
Yeah.
then just do that and trust that it will integrate whatever needs to integrate. If you're able to do the activation, the journaling prompts, it will take it much deeper. It will give you a very personalized experience. Like you'll see the prompts are so like people have had mind-blowing experiences like, oh, something I've been holding on to for so long, for so many years, it's just been like triggering me over and over again. I was able to release it with this experience because the activations take you deeper into the process. It's very personal. You're listening to it on your own time, and then you can journal if you have time for that. So I know it's a busy season, but when you make space for that, you come to Pesach in a whole new way. And yeah, there's so much there. So yeah, and you'll see me and Sora Miriam there as well. So
Thank
looking
you.
forward. Take care, everyone. Have a beautiful rest of the season. I know we're not doing a part three. This is it, right?
Probably. Maybe in the
Part
future.
three is Redemptress. Come join us there.
Right, exactly, exactly.
Okay, I'm gonna put our information as well in the recording to reach Samram, to reach myself, to explore more of our work. And thank you all for being here.
Thank you.